G'day, legends, and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. This is part 2 of our season review. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and has watched part 1 already on YouTube or listened to it via our audio through your podcast apps. We appreciate that. So what we did last one, we went through about 8 or 9 different topics, questions, things like who's your player of the season, who's your signing of the season, most improved, goal of the season, etc. And the 4 of us just spoke about what our favourites were, and we just went around the room that way. So we'll keep at it that way and crack on with the rest of the topics we want to discuss. So if you've got any comments or you want to answer what your thoughts are to these questions, please do so in the comments section, whether on YouTube, if you're on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, let us know there as well. So first question. What was your favourite moment of the Celtic Christmas video? Go to you, Sean.
Quite a few. Somebody need to remind me of the cryptic one. I can't actually remember what was going on with that. But my favourite moment, and they do a pretty good job every year, don't they, with the Christmas video? I know that they film it in like September, but they still do a pretty good job. I think my favourite moment was Fran Alonso putting on sunglasses in pitch black night. That was probably my favourite moment.
And the best thing was somehow he still looked cool doing it. No, I was I'm going to go for the slightly sentimental angle and just say the tribute to Bertie Auld. The one that was above the stadium during the ad, and also the wee shout out to him at the end, I thought was just really nice and really classily done. It would have been easy to have a tribute to somebody in that and have it be tacky, but no, that was handled in a very dignified and classy way. That was nice.
John?
Yeah, there was a couple that I wrote down. I thought having all the Santa's letters being sent first class Postecoglou was quite good.
Yeah. It's good dad fun.
Yeah, it was a good dad fun. I also quite liked Juranovic doing the Salt Bay because he looks like the dude that does the. That was
that what it like? I don't know. I don't get a reference.
Dude, the chef, the Turkish guy who's the Salt Bay. Have you not seen it? He's got a mad restaurant in London now where he does a steak. Oh, it's not a steak. It's like some sort of beef cut that has, the bone still in it, and it cooks so you pull it off. But he's wrapped it in gold. It's the most expensive beef steak you can get in London because the whole thing is edible gold. What's the point? Gold doesn't taste of anything. You're spending stupid money on. Anyway, that's just the salt. That's the Salt Bay. He does all that stuff.
Still better value for money than Aaron Ramsey.
It's true. Yeah, that's a good one.
And then my favourite has to be the laptop. Gavin Strachan and his laptop has to. Yeah. It's just the key thing for me. As soon as I saw that, I was just like almost on the floor laughing. Brilliant.
What was the hidden detail? It was something about 55 or something. What was it?
Remember? Oh, that's right. No, I can't. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna do some googling. Because it was some sort of jibe, wasn't it? We've done 55.
Can't remember.
No, who knows? It's a long time ago. It's May now. That was December. 6 months ago.
Yeah.
All good.
Applying Rangers fan logic, I guess I should just look back at Christmas and say thanks to Life for the Highlander DVD. There can be only 55, I think it was. Anyway.
All right. So next question. Who will be next season's Tony Ralston and why? Over to you, Sean.
This one's kind of stealing a bit from a different question, but sorry, give me a second. Sneeze. But I'd actually had a look through the squads, and there wasn't too many candidates. The one I'm actually going to wish cast this one, and I'm going to say Mikey Johnston. And I know it's quite speculative, but the only other one I could see that I could really think might be would have been Liam Scales, but I'm just not sure he's going to cut it, to be honest, or going to do it next season anyway.
Liam?
It's difficult because everyone who we wanted to deliver this season pretty much has. If he stays, Karamoko Dembele. There we go. That'd be my hopeful. Again, like as Sean said with Mikey Johnson, more in hope than expectation, because boy's at the age now where if he doesn't make it this season, it's not going to happen for him at Celtic. So hopefully next year is his year.
Johnny?
Yeah, so look, I took this quite literally in the sense that if we look at Tony Ralston's trajectory at his career in Celtic, what other player has had a similar path? So has to be fairly young, because I think Ralston's only 23, is that right? 22, 23?
Yeah, 23.
Yeah.
20.
So he's still young, has to still be young, relatively speaking. Has to have been at Celtic for a little while. Has to have seen to have a lot of ability and talent and still not really show it, and obviously had to have a bad couple of seasons. So I looked at that and I thought the only person that fits all of those things right now, if he stays, would be Mikey Johnson. So I agree with Sean. Whether Mikey Johnson stays on next season or not, I think if I was a betting man, I'd probably say he's moving on, because I would imagine the wingers that are in front of him and any winger that comes in will also be in front of him. He's going to struggle to get in. The only person that he could take over from would be Forrest. If Forrest was seeing sort of the end of his heights now, which is absolutely fine because he's given us some fantastic seasons and stuff, and I still think he's got maybe a season or two in him of that sort of height, but he's probably come towards the end, so maybe Johnson's going to replace that type of player, but who knows? Johnson might not want to wait that long. I think I can't remember who it was. It was one of our old coaches. For the life of me, it's an old Celtic player. No, it wasn't so. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Who said that he couldn't even lace Johnson's boots? He was that good. And so when you get coaches that are saying that with all that, talent, and you would think that he's going to be. He just needs the right type of coaching, the right type of system that make the attack and stuff that Ange got, and then crack on. He just needs a good half a season, and then his career is going to start. Much in the same way that Ralston has. He's done shite for so long. We've seen that he's now and again he's got something there, but he's never really cut it. Boom, somebody's come in, everything's clicked, and now you can't drop him. He's going to be in the squad for a long time. So. Yeah, it's the only real candidate I can think of that fits all that criteria is Johnson.
I looked at it on a similar sort of vein, but I also looked at it on a young guy who's had a few appearances and is ready to make that step up and become a more regular first-team squad member who can step into the team and play, right? So I looked at it, if Julian moves on, we don't know what's happening with Carter Vickers yet. The centre-back situation is very, very... It's basically there'll be tumbleweed going through there pretty soon. So for me, it was, do you play Welsh? But the other guy, and then I found out he'd done his ACL or whatever, but it was Dane Murray for me. He's a guy that is highly rated, has captained the Colts, has captained his youth national team. He's got the size, he's got the ball playing ability that Ange likes. He's a guy that could step up into that role. And I hope he does, because we're talking about Mikey Johnson potentially moving on. We're talking about, you said about Forrest potentially moving on. The thing is, we're in the Champions League. We need to have a certain Scottish amount of players for the quotas. So I'd like to see one of those two guys make that step up into there, and it be a young Scottish guy who will be on our B list or our A list or whatever it is, and count as a local homegrown guy, because that's what we need. Not only in Europe, but it's good to see that, and it's good to have a Scottish core at Celtic.
I mean, would you expect it to be someone like Shaw or Urugidi, or are we just saying it's, like these guys got a chance? If they're not getting a game at Motherwell, if we're sending them out on loan to Belgium with like options to buy, what chance have they got really?
Yeah.
Well, Shaw's actually very similar to Ralston in that he's gone out on loan and hasn't worked. So if we send him out on another loan that doesn't work, there's still hope. What we're talking about with Mikey before is he's got a lot of talent, but he needs to run a games. Now, I'd rather send him on loan for a season and let him go elsewhere and just play, whether it's a Christie style or sort of loan or whatever. But I would love to see Mikey go down to the Championship and play for someone like Millwall, which will toughen him up.
Yeah, I mean, the Championship in England's a very, very high standard. So I don't know if he'd...
So it's a lot of games for him too. So
I'm not sure Johnson's at the English Championship level at all. As much as I would love to see him there, Jared, I don't think he's there. I think Johnson's biggest problem at the moment is his decision making is extremely poor. So that's that. He needs to be able to understand what to do at the right times. He requires good coaching and stuff.
Perfect one there, John. Let's send him on loan to Japan, then to the J League, and we'll improve his decision making and his technical ability there.
But I was actually going to suggest a good loan for Johnson might actually be Sunderland. Just got back into the Championship. They're going to be looking to bring people in. I think so. Yeah. And limited budget. So loans would be what they want. Celtic have done business with them before. The supporters there have a similar mindset to the Celtic support. They have high standards, but they're also willing to give guys a chance. And I think Johnson needs to go to a club where he's going to be loved. And I think Sunderland could be the ideal move for him. And if he cuts it at that level, there's still hope that he could cut it at Celtic. So, yeah, I think that would be the ideal move for him.
And he'll get his head on TV with Netflix.
Yeah, there's that as well.
And the Duffer Bet link up too. There you go. There's another one. Makes too much sense, Liam.
Just hope he doesn't come across as much as a cock as Aidan McGeady did on that show.
What do you reckon Scott Robertson's chances of being the one that makes it in the team? Because he's going to be 21 now when he start next season.
He's one that I did bring up when I was on Axom last as well, and he's one that I rate. I think he's a chance, but at the same time, it depends what we do recruitment-wise. I know Ange said he wants another midfielder, so it's like, okay, what sort of midfielder is he going to bring in? Is he going to bring in another number 10 when he's got Turnbull, O'Reilly, and Hatate who can play there? Is he going to bring in another 8, or is he going to bring in a 6? So Robinson's chances of breaking in is all going to depend on what we do recruitment-wise with that one midfielder that Ange wants to bring in.
Is he Robinson an attacking midfield?
Well, look, to me, from when I've watched him, it seems more like a 6 or an 8. It's not a 10.
Mine is 6 last season out on loan. Mainly it's a 6 and an 8. So,
well, look, Bitton has moved on. Do you know what I mean? So there is potentially a space there, but I think it's more of an attacking midfield. But we're linked up with that boy James McAtee. Is that how you say his name?
Yep.
Who's he?
From under 21s, England under 21s, plays at Man City. I think he's had a couple of loans. 21 years of age.
Oh, right.
I'm against that for the simple fact that look at how well last year worked. This season just gone has worked out where we brought our own players in. The guys we brought in on loan, unless we're going to bring McAtee in on loan with an option to buy, then it's not worth doing. And
I think it's a permanent purchase. I've not seen anything about loans, but you might be right. But I thought it was for a permanent.
I heard it was for a loan. So we've both heard
there
it.
you go. Yeah.
So who knows? I don't want it.
Let's see. It says loan to Swansea potentially is what's on the cards at the moment.
For Robertson.
No, McAtee.
Oh no, for McAtee. There you go. Yeah, right. Well, who knows? Who knows? Maybe Robertson's got a chance to break into the team as well. Yep. And when he was when we had the COVID season and he was playing, didn't do. I don't seem to remember him doing a lot wrong. Seem to remember him being quite decent. So
you need to be better than that to cut it to Celtic, though.
You do. Young guy though.
All right, on to the next question. It looks like a squad clear-out is on the cards. As we're just talking about this. If you had to keep one player from Johnson, Ayeti, Barkas, Sorrow, Bolingoli, or Julian, who would it be and why? Sean?
Oh, definitely Mikey Johnson for me. I still believe that you don't. Everything we just said, I'm not going to retread it all, but yeah, that reason. The other one that I would have maybe said is Julian, because I still like Julian. I still think he's got value and particularly set pieces. But if I do appreciate that he might not have the kind of turn and nous that you need to play in a Postecoglou system, he might not be quite as suited to that. He's a bit more, doesn't turn as quickly, a bit more cumbersome. So I'm not upset about him going, even though I did like him back in the day.
Liam?
I took the approach to this of like thinking who is going to make leave the biggest gap in the squad if he leaves. Now, we've already discussed that Johnson is on the fringes because we have several wingers already who are better than him at the moment. Barkas, I hope he goes on to become a great goalkeeper, but I don't think it's going to be at Celtic under any circumstance. Ajeti, again, 3 or 4 players ahead of him in the team already. The only one who would be missed really would be Julian. So for that reason alone, considering that Carter Vickers is not confirmed for next season yet, and even if he was, I reckon we need one more centre back as cover anyway if Julian goes. For that reasoning, I would say Julian.
Johnny?
So I'm clearly on the same vein as everybody else. Johnson purely on ability. Probably I would imagine he's away though. But I agree. Right now we need at least one more centre back. I feel like that's an absolute requirement. So if Julian moves on, and this is also assuming that Carter Vickers is definitely coming to Celtic, because all right, as of right now, it looks like it's on the cards on the table sort of stuff. But what for Julian's ability alone, that would be a huge hole. And I would not be surprised that he's away because of his comments, and he's spat the dummy. Because if you feel like you're that good, you should be able to fight for your position every single day, every single training session. And the fact that he's just not getting games just means that he's clearly a little bit of ego and pride in there, and that's just not going to suit Ange, and it doesn't suit Celtic. So yeah, for me, Julian's a decent centre back. He's a very decent centre back. We know what we get with him. So for him to move on would require us to get 2 very similar centre backs, like as in similar in ability. So that's a huge task.
Yeah, for me, it's very similar. I'd keep Mikey, but I'd put him on loan for a season, as we just touched on. However, in terms of squad balance, yeah, losing Julian is the potential to be a big issue, especially if Carter Vickers doesn't come in. Julian, this time last year when we're talking about Ange coming in and who's going to be the captain, for me, it was out of McGregor or Julian. He was the guy that I thought could have been a captain. And with how many issues we had of scoring from corners this year and free kicks, I think we missed Julian's size and aerial ability there. However, to use a term from, I can't remember what TV show, as soon as I read his comments in the paper, I just thought, now you've gone and done it. He put his foot in his mouth big time, and that's the end of him at Celtic as far as I'm concerned. The other guys, Ayeti, won't miss him. Barkas, won't miss him. Let's just get some cash back for them. That's a waste of £10 million right there. Sorrow, there's another £2 million down the gurgler. Not going to miss him. Bolingoli, the less said, the better. Yeah, it's going to be. I'd keep Mikey, but put him on loan. The rest, see you later.
One thing is, I don't know if people read too much into this, but a lot of those players have got low squad numbers, which suggests to me that they're, were considered first team players and are therefore on first team salaries. So it might not be so easy to shift them because they're hardly going to get an increase wherever they head to next. Barkas number 1, Julian number 2, Sorrow number 12, even Mikey Johnson's number 19, Ayeti number 10. These are all like, yes, we value you guys as first team players, so they're probably getting at least 5 figures a week. So best of luck getting them out the door.
And look, I'm reading a lot into this, to be fair, but I think Ayeti's attitude when we did the trophy celebrations at Celtic Park, where in the sun he's walking around, he was sort of on his own, not really engaging. I think in his head he's off. I think he's very much setting up with his agent to get the club. But I agree with everybody else. It's going to be. It's not a given that we're just going to get rid of all this deadwood and it's as easy as that. And all these clubs are just waiting for us to sell them. So we might see Julian for another season or two, or however long his contract is.
One more season.
One more. Mikey's got 3 years. Mikey Johnson's got 3 years.
That's what I'm saying. Put him on loan. We can afford to do that. Julian's got 1 season left. There's a couple of clubs in France that are interested and want to make an offer. So Julian wants to go home. See you later. Get some money back in. Get him off the wage bill. Laughing. Good
player though.
You know what I'd do? If you really wanted to torture Bolingoli, the perfect place to send him on loan if you can't sell him, send him to the Wellington Phoenix down here.
I thought you were going to say Kilmarnock.
Send him down here. You know why? 20-something games a season. It's cooking hot everywhere else, but he'll be playing at a Wellington, so he's constantly got to do the travel back and forward from New Zealand to Australia every second week. So there's a 4-hour 2 or 4-hour plane flight to the East Coast. Then he's got to play on rock hard pitches that won't be good for him. Yeah, nice little way to make him suffer.
Send him to Dynamo Kiev.
Yeah, well, fuck, that's it. Wait, did he not just come from Ufe? Was he not just on loan in Russian?
Yeah.
He's still officially listed as being there on the Celtic website, but yeah.
He's training in Belgium or some shit, yeah. Anyway, next question. Which of this season's departures would have made a great impact under Ange if they stayed at Celtic, and why?
Well, I think we're probably honing in on the 3 big names that went out: Ayer, Edward, and Christie. And for me, it would have been Christie would be the number 1. You could kind of see it a bit when he was here before he left, when under Ange, like to the point where we all started to kind of get a bit of maybe he's going to stay. Maybe he looks like he's enjoying himself. He seems to be fitting in with a system. And even all that aside, like when he did go, we were really short in those wide positions until Maeda came in. We did really miss his presence, even if no matter how much you rate him as a squad, we missed that quality in those positions. I'm sure you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but we did all start to believe that he was going to stay, and then he just went. So
I'll agree with you, Sean, because that's who my one would have been. I was going to say Christie for the fact that with the way we press and he has 17 lungs in his chest, like he could just press all day. So even though I didn't like the fact that he constantly shoot the ball into Rosette every single time he'd have a crack from outside the box, the pressing and the defensive ability is what we would have missed. The other two, Edward didn't seem interested at all and just was looking for his move, and the same with Ayer. So, yeah, I think it has to go down to Christie as my option. What do you reckon, Liam?
Yeah, same here. For what you've just said, Christie was the only one of those 3 that actually looked as if he was even considering being part of Ange's plan. I don't know if Ayer ever even played under Ange. No, don't think he did. Edward,
he was sold away for the first Michelin game.
Aye, because I seem to remember him. I think he was still part of the technically part of Celtic at that point, but he was left out of the squad because he made clear he was
down doing his medical or something the day before the game.
Aye. Edouard played a couple of games at the start of the season, but just still looked as off the pace as he'd been at the end of last season. Just not interested. And just that kind of sulky way that he gets when his form dips. And Edouard is a fantastic footballer, but he's not a grafter, he's not a runner, he's not a hard worker. And to be honest, he's just not Ange's type of player at all, I don't think. You could maybe build a team around a player like that, but I don't think it really fits in with Ange's philosophy to have any passengers. So, no, for that reason, Christie was the only one that ever even came close.
I'll give you the other names of players that left, and you can stop me if you think there's anyone. We had Vakun Yusuf Bayo, Jack Hendry, Olivier Ncham, Scott Brown, Lee Griffiths, Marion Shved. The rest of them look like loan departures. Yeah, that's it. The rest of them are all loan departures.
Do you know, Ncham's not a bad shout as somebody who would do very well under Ange's system, but he was also a bit of he could also be quite lazy. Not necessarily always working for the ball, but he was actually very good positionally. So Ncham's a very good shout. I agree with everybody, right? If we're just to, those are the three big departures. We've discussed it. I would say out of all three of them, Edouard's definitely not going to be thriving under Ange's system. I don't know if you guys follow English football at all. I don't really, but I've noticed that Edouard's been very much benched since he's been at Palace. So it's clearly that sort of he needs to find a very particular team where it's like a 4-4-2 or a 3-5-2, where the other forward does all the work for him and he just sits there, and in the moment that he needs to, he can explode with energy and get the goals and stuff. But who did? Yeah. How many teams are like that? So I would say he was the least out of the three. But I'm actually going to make an argument, because obviously I wrote down Christie, but I'll make an argument that I probably could have thrived quite massively under Ange, which is you get everything that you need out of a centre back. We're an attacking team, which suits Aya's style of being a centre back. But also, when Aya does those big striding runs forward, that suits. That's absolutely what Ange would have loved out of a player. You can see Starfelt does it from time to time. Carter Vickers to a less extent. Carter Vickers is more like that Benkovic type of centre back where he just pings a diagonal over to a winger, which is amazing to watch. But Starfelt very much tries to run forward a lot. Aya did those. You would have had, I don't know, maybe a fullback dropping in or McGregor dropping in, and as Aya runs forward, attacking. So yeah, and obviously with all the height and stuff that we get for those set pieces and stuff. So I think Aya is a very good shout as well to have thrived massively under this sort of free-flowing, attacking, non-stop Ange system.
Do you know, I'm just going to throw one more name in there, and I don't know if the timelines match up, because I think he was away before Ange was here, but I would have been interested to see how El Yunusi would have played in that team. Particularly at the start of the season before we had Maeda and Jota. I would like to have seen what El Yunusi could have offered.
Ange loves a tricky winger, so it could have worked.
Yeah. It would have been interesting, but his loss.
For me, another one is I think Jack Hendry could have worked well under Ange. Ball playing centre back, bit of height. He could have done the job as well. But I don't think we missed much there anyway, because he had a shocking season when he made his move anyway, and we got a couple of extra dollars for it. So yeah, not too fussed overall, but yeah, he could have potentially have been an option.
Where did he go? Was it Club Brugge, if I remember right?
Bruges.
Yeah. Played 6 games in the Champions League, so he did all right.
Yeah, Jesus. And then he's just dropped off.
No, he's in the Scotland squad next week.
Oh, right. Okay. So Yeah, probably would have been a good one. Well, we all know what that's. Let's not relive that fucking debacle. Jack Hendry moving on.
Next question is, who do you think would fetch the highest price if sold this summer and why?
Yep, I've got down a player that I don't think spoke about at all yet, and interestingly, and that is Matt O'Reilly. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is not necessarily because I believe he's the best player, even though I think he's great. I'm saying it because he's 21 and he is eligible as a homegrown player for English teams competing in Europe. So that's the reason why I'm saying his transfer value is artificially inflated because of the way the EPL works as a buying market. It's not ability is actually lucky. You're lucky if ability is 50% of a player's transfer value down in England. Age and European squad eligibility are massively inflating on the prices.
Yeah, the O'Reilly was an interesting one, which I hadn't actually thought about, but that's a very good point about the homegrown thing for English teams, and also
long-term contract as well.
He is in all likelihood going to become a Denmark international at some point in the near future, a full international. So that's also going to add to his value, especially if he makes their World Cup squad, which he may well do. Now the easy option to say would be Kyogo, because he's the most impactful and probably the most naturally gifted player we've got at the club at the moment, and he's 26, so he's at his peak. But I think if you're a buying club and you take the green tinted specs off for a minute, you're talking about a guy who was injured for half of the season. So an incoming club would have questions about his fitness. Our other Japanese players have not yet been here long enough to prove against any doubt that they are absolutely made for British football. I'm assuming it's English teams that would come in for them because they're the ones that would have the big money. But I think actually, assuming that he becomes a Celtic player in the next week or so, I think Carter Vickers could fetch big money if we sold him on, because a ball-playing centre-back is a very difficult type of player to find, and one that also has his threat coming forward as well, because he's, like we said earlier, he's scored a couple of important goals for us this season as well. USA International recently got back into their squad, looking good to go to the World Cup with them. This is going to be an interesting question to revisit at the end of next season, actually, because by that point, all of these international players that we have will hopefully have done something at the World Cup, and that is going to largely impact their value. You know, if O'Reilly makes a Denmark squad and they get to like the last 8, then, you know, if Kyogo scores a hat-trick against somebody in the group stages, you know, sometimes at the World Cup, all it takes is one game to skyrocket your value, you know.
Had you choose anyone?
Well, I was going to say Oleg Salenko, but I guess that just shows how old I am. But yeah, he scored, I think it was 5 goals in one game for Russia. The Huns signed him about 18 months later, then he just never did anything again.
Yeah, James Rodriguez as well. That's how he got his move to Real Madrid.
Aye, yeah.
So you can, if you do well at a World Cup, or Euro, that's how Larsson signed for Barcelona. You know, he was a free agent when he scored those goals at the Euros.
Aye.
Johnny, what's your take on this question?
Well, do you know, see, Sean's gone away and he's thought about this and he's worked it out. And I think O'Reilly now sounds pretty bloody good. Kyogo is obviously an obvious one. I think, just with absolute ability, he would quite likely fetch quite a large price. But I do think as well, if we were to ignore those two for a second, that Jota could potentially get quite a large transfer fee. He's young. I also think, from what the point that Sean was making as well about the market having artificial factors, the fact that and I think that potentially that's one of the reasons why Celtic were watching him, and Celtic loaned him out, fingers crossed, bought him. the fact that he had a 75 million release clause at Benfica at one point, albeit yes, that's because Benfica see young talent and they just want to absolutely, with no shadow of a doubt, hold on to them for as long as they can. But the fact that
in Portugal and in Spain, they have to have a release clause in every single contract. That's why.
And and Benfica's just gone silly, right? So they've just gone and they do it with other like rising youth and stuff. But the fact that he has that on his track record, the fact that he's had that in a contract where he's had 75 million release clause, obviously that raises awareness and speculation, and he's showing it on the pitch that he has talent. So if he has, I mean, from this season alone, he could get a pretty decent move. But if he has another decent season or two, silly money, we're talking the 25 range. So yeah, Jota could be a good shout.
Yeah, Jota was one I was thinking of because I'm like, he'd be like our version of Jack Hendry was for what's it called, the Ostend or whatever it was in Belgium, where we sign him at the end of the contract for that, but then you could flip him for a shit ton extra cash after that. So I wouldn't want to do that, but here's one option. Another guy, because we're thinking here, long-term contract, won the league Young Player of the Year, had double-digit goals and assists this season. Leo Labata, for me, he's someone that we'll make a pretty penny on when we sell him. I don't think we'd probably get comparable money for him as we would for O'Reilly, in my opinion. But if Jota was to come in and we were able to, and we sold him straight away, I think Jota would be ahead of him. But yeah, it's a potential one as well. But
totally agree.
Not for sale, everyone, not for sale.
Yeah,
you want to buy Leo Labata? Oh, okay, no worries. This is him. He's number 19 for Celtic, and he responds to Mikey.
Yeah, Abada was the one when Brendan Rodgers randomly appeared at Celtic Park. We're like, oh, who's he here to watch? And the one we all assumed was Leo Abada. It seems maybe since then it was actually Juranovic, but yeah, that was the one at the time we all assumed. So that's definitely in the same lines of Matt O'Reilly, young player. The only difference being he's not going to count towards a European squad, but same idea, really.
All right, on to our next question. What should be next season's European aspirations?
I've written down here Europa League last 16. I know that we talked about before about how whatever that mob across the city can achieve, we should be able to achieve too. But they've taken years to build to that stage, steady progress each year in Europe. So I think next year steady progress would be maybe a third place finish in the Champions League group and then get through one round in the Europa League, or maybe even two if we get lucky with the draw. I think that would be representing steady progress.
I'll jump in here quickly. Yeah, my one was going to be win a knockout stage after Christmas. That's pretty much all I want. Whether that's in the Champions League, Europa League, whatever, get through to that point and win one because it's been too long. Over to you, Lamb.
Yeah, breaking that knockout stage hoodoo is going to be a big psychological one. Champions League, we've not been in it for a few years. We could, depending who we get, we might go get second place and get through to the last 16, or we could end up finishing bottom. It really does depend on who we get. We are in pot 4, so we're going to be the perceived weakest team in whatever group we're in. I think win at least 2 games in the Champions League, whether that's 2 home games or a home and away game or whatever. Win at least 2 games in the Champions League. Then Europa League, win 1 knockout tie, as Sean said. I would be quite happy with that. I think that would be progress. Just to keep it respectable in the Champions League, let's not take any 7-1 doings off of anybody like PSG or anything.
Yeah. I think we're all of a similar mindset here. I think what's extremely disappointing though, is I think our bar is so low, and it's a real shame that that's the case. But I really do think, as far as what I've seen on social media and listened to on other pods and stuff, is the aspirations of what we should be going for in Europe. That bar is set so incredibly low from where we should have been, and I genuinely believe that. We had such good momentum for a while. Obviously, during the Lennon's second season, I guess, that all just fell by the wayside. Who gave a shit at that point? It was everything. It was all the wheels were coming off and stuff. But the fact that, you know, for a long time we've been talking about, it's a bonus to get European football after Christmas. We shouldn't be thinking like that.
We've got a gold star above our logo. We should be expecting to be there.
Exactly. Look, when the fact I don't believe it's possible for us to drop into the Conference League next season. I haven't really worked it out. I think if you were to get, I don't know. I don't think it's actually possible to drop from.
You can't drop
the
from the
group
group
stage
stages of the Champions League down to the Conference League. You can only drop down one comp. So if we're in our group of 4 and we come last, we're out. If we come third, we're into Europa League knockouts. If the top 2, we stay in the Champions League.
That's what I thought. So, so obviously our chance of having a little bit of European success again got absolutely smashed by a team we should have, by all accounts, probably beaten in Bodo Glimt. As much as they are a rising team in Europe and they were a very, very good team, we should be doing teams like Bodo Glimt, right? I guess I'm basing that off history, but our aspirations should very much be the fact that we've got to break this duck as well. Again, why is that a thing? Why has it been since I was a fucking kid that we haven't won knockout stages in Europe? Mental. That's actually mental. I understand how entitled I sound. I don't give a fucking shit. I want a bit of European success. Winning the league, the reason why it's fantastic is because then you get into Europe and you want to play everybody else in Europe because you don't get to play them that often, and it's a bit of glamour and all that stuff, and get all the accolades and stuff. We don't have that. We sort of are somewhere around the bottom being like, yay. It's like having a little brother come along with you for your little parties and stuff. It's like, sit in the fucking corner, shut the fuck up. We're going to go play Europe. And it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't be, as fan base, we should be wanting far, far more. So yes, I think everything what we're saying, obviously with a bit of logic, we just want to get third in the Champions League, because then it means that we have a very good chance of getting as far as we possibly can get in the knockout stages of the Europa League. That has to be, for me, that's my bar, but I feel like it's very fucking low anyway.
Here's the group we're going to get. It's going to be AC Milan, Barcelona, Shakhtar Donetsk. Just looking at or Benfica. Benfica will be in pot 3 as well. So I'm just looking at the seedings just now. AC in the top pot 1, you got Man City, Real, AC, Bayern, PSG, Porto, Ajax, Eintracht Frankfurt. So we're going to get AC Milan out of that lot.
Yeah, they're a good team though.
Take anyone apart from AC Milan or Bayern Munich, but yeah. And then pot 2 is Liverpool, Chelsea, Barcelona, Juventus, Atletico, Seville, Tottenham, and RB Leipzig, who we just played. So yeah, that's actually Juventus and Barca are the only ones in there that we've played a lot recently. The other ones are kind of newish. So, you know, pot 1, there's 2 teams that are very familiar to us. Pot 2, there's 2. And then pot 3 is actually, apart from Shakhtar and Benfica, it's relatively new to us as well. So we could get something fresh.
Some good away days in there. That's the main thing. Let's go to Madrid.
Yeah, we all want Real. We've been saying it for years. We want to play Royal Madrid.
Yeah.
Slap that crown off their badge.
All right. On to the next question. What was your favorite Celtic Down Under podcast moment of the season and why?
My favorite moment of the season was when John juxtaposed 2 cultural references to bring up the Emu War, and Jared and Liam just responded with crickets.
It was too highbrow. It was too highbrow. Yeah.
I was sitting at home listening back to it, going, "Ha, that was brilliant," and then just chirp.
Yeah. That was the Candace Owen shite. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Sending the emails or
Liam.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be cumulative, like watching you guys respond with varying levels of disdain to my dad jokes.
They have been
Hopefully
very
you got
good.
one.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Well, keeping on the self-deprecation bandwagon, I wrote down 2. So I don't know if the listeners, I don't know if I've ever said this, but I don't know if the listeners know that whenever they comment where we do the live stuff, we see most of them and we pick the ones that are relevant to what we're talking about and stuff. But one that I remember recently, just as the Ukraine crisis started, somebody was wearing a very I love it. It's a very flowery shirt, but it's it's me. I like it. And somebody had just commented, and I saw it straight away. Somebody should send my T-shirt to the Ukraine. I was like, that's a bit harsh. We've all got our fashion choices. Sending it to a war-torn zone. Anyway. And then the other one that I've wrote down here is me struggling, and I still fucking struggle. Me struggling to say Ferencvaros every single time we're playing them. And all my different iterations of saying that.
You get a break from it next year, so there you go, John. There's a win.
Yeah, thank God. Ferencvaros. Yeah.
The one that I wrote down is just seeing how many times Liam can slip his references to pot noodles into the show over the course of the year. I think there's been at least 4 or 5 different episodes where he's mentioned a pot noodle. So I just had to bring it up. The old in-jokes, gotta love it.
Hey, I had an absolutely beautiful pot noodle last Thursday morning, I can tell you that much. Oh.
Yeah, Liam.
Curry flavoured. Yeah.
Funny thing for you as well is I'll bring up your pot noodle joke. Now, on our 100th episode, it was called 100 Pot Noodle. That was the episode name, right? And on that episode, ties into our last question topic to go through. Our preseason fearless predictions. Let's see how bad we got them, right?
Yeah.
Now they were all done on the 30th of December of July last year on episode 100 called 100 Pot Noodle. They happened on that episode. I've written them all down, what we did. So let's go through them and see if you guys can remember what you said your fearless predictions were. So our bold predictions before the season. Can you guys remember what you said? Or do you want me to read out what they were?
I'm pretty sure I said we wouldn't win the league.
Okay, so John's was, if we don't change things fast, we won't be winning the league this year. Liam said it's going to be another helicopter Sunday. Sean was, going into the split, we will not be in second place.
Well, true.
And me, I've gone, Hibs will be challenging Sevco for second place and we will be winning the league. Yes for winning the league, no for Hibs.
Yeah, no for Hibs,
Yeah, my prediction was either we'll be romping it or tanking it, and we romped it.
We did romp it. To be fair, I was very accurate in saying if we don't change shit fast, and what happened? Everything changed very quickly. So
that's why I wrote the whole quote down, John, for that reason, because I'm like, I've got to quote you properly here. I don't want to stitch you up.
Yeah, and that's a very quick turnaround, which I don't think anybody saw that coming. To be honest, we all thought 2-3 seasons, well, maybe not 3 seasons, two seasons of a transition, and then we're back to where we were. But yeah, Ange's done the stuff that he's basically done it. He's done what we didn't think anyone could do. So quick turnaround, and yeah, we won it. Oh God, I never saw that coming. Truly.
All right. On to the next fearless predictions. We had Player of the Year and Young Player of the Year. So, Kelmac wins Player of the Year. Abada wins Young Player of the Year, right? So, John, you had for Player of the Year, you had Abada. Sean and Liam, Kelmac. Me, I said Nisbet because we were going to sign him. And then Young Player of the Year, John had Turnbull. Sean and Liam had Abada. And I said Dane Murray.
3 for 3.
Do you know, see, sometimes we should fucking put bets on. The amount of times that we get it pretty spot on or near damn close to it.
Oh, just wait.
I'll let you in the wee secret, John. I did.
There you go.
Got to feed this football top habit somehow.
All right. League top scorer and most red cards. Okay. So, league top scorer, Giakoumakis and Charles Cook. They were the top scorers. John said James Forrest.
I fucking love him.
1 goal.
Liam said Kyogo.
Close.
Well, Kyogo was second, wasn't he? So I wasn't that far away.
I said Nisbet because we were going to sign him. And Sean,
I remember what I said.
penalty.
Yeah, safe goal penalty, which was actually 4th if you add it up.
Yeah. And then
So
most red cards. John said Morelos.
Yeah, I don't think he got any.
Liam said Bruni. Sean said Sorrow. I said Lewis Ferguson. The winner of that one, Ryan Porteous.
There you go.
In John's defence, Morelos did spend a large part of the season in the stand, so...
Yeah, yeah.
Did you see that picture of him from the game last week? It was hilarious. Like,
I did.
wishing up for... Yeah, I said, hope he recovers from that bee sting in his neck.
Okay, on to the next two. Best place non-Glasgow team. John said Aberdeen. Liam said Hibs. Sean said Aberdeen. I said Hibs. It was Hearts.
It was Hearts.
They're all wrong, yeah.
Nobody saw that coming either, to be honest.
Who will be relegated? John said Dundee. After a lot of and ahhing at the time, he got it right.
You got one right, yeah.
I got one.
Hey, I only get one right for the whole show. After last year, absolutely hammering it. Liam, Motherwell. Sean and me both said Livingston.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
On to the last one was first club to change manager. So just so we can figure it out, John said Sevco / Gerrard will move on to England. First chance he gets.
Was that first?
Liam said the same. Sean said, it's between Livy and Ross County. I pick Livy after a lot of and ahhing. I said St Johnson because Callum Davison will take over as Scotland manager. So, Gerrard left on the 11th of November last year. Jack Ross was then sacked by Hibs on the 9th of December. They're your first two. So, Gerrard was the first one to leave.
Beauty.
Thank you, Stevie G.
So, that's the end of our season review. Hope you've all enjoyed both episodes for this. We've had a interesting season. It's good fun to sit back and review it and just talk about things that have happened over the year and, reminisce a little bit, have a bit of a laugh, how it is. So we appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the Celtic Down Under podcast, please do so via your podcast app. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would be great. Other than that, guys, hail, hail.
Hail, hail.
Hail,
Hail, hail.
B.